pack leaders. This is Healing with Friends Journey, protecting families by protecting the pack. And today I want to talk about politics. So, it's one of I don't know if you guys know, but about the big picture of our U.S. government. I'm just starting to put the pieces together on when you hear things on the news. You're like, why would you ever want to do that? That's idiotic. But you don't understand like the big picture, the whole story. It's like, okay, I get why. I see why it's happening. And I guess this might be a long video, but just everyone's in crypto because of the fiat dollar. And the premise behind the fiat dollar is that everyone knows, the whole world knows that we're using it to conquer countries. Like you can conquer a country by debt or by sword. It's much easier to conquer it by sword, no, by debt. There's a couple of videos in my private members group where we would go out to countries and like, kind of like the 300 movie, how the Persian Empire is like, hey, join our side. Here's some money. You'll be rich beyond. All you have to do is bow the knee to us, kind of thing. So that's what we do. We kind of tell countries to say, hey, you join us. You get lots of money. And then you can build infrastructure like water plants. And when you do, don't worry, we have an American company that will build it for you. So when they do that, then all of a sudden they can't pay back. Like, oh, well, so the money comes back to us anyways, right? We give them the money, which we printed, and it comes back to us. And then they can't pay for the infrastructure that we built for them, and they are indebted to us. So like, I know, no problem. We'll just let us build a military base. It's like we've kind of put a fork in the like a little flag on their property, and or you can sell us our oil for real cheap or whatever kind of thing. You're like, all right, fine, since we owe you, and otherwise you do something bad to us, so we'll let you do that. And there's people who have defied that, like Saddam and Gaddafi, say, hey, you know what, I know what you guys are doing. I don't want any of your funny money. I want to be sovereign. I want to take care of my own people with their own monetary system. And what happens? They get whacked. Or if they can't get whacked because Saddam knows the game and he had doubles, we send in the army and accusing them of weapons of mass destruction, which we sold to them because that's how we know, right? We sold it to them. I did talk to some captains in the army who was in the Iraqi war where they said they found it, but we can't say we found it because we had U.S. serial numbers on it, so we just say we didn't find it, right? And so it got shipped to Syria, and so that's how Syria is starting to have some weapons of mass destruction or chemical weapons. And so with that, now somehow it got released or staged, who knows what, and of course, we need to cover that up too, so we kind of sent a couple of cruise missiles and took care of that. And whenever you hear anything on the news like Trump's going after China for trade war, well, that's because before that, China was trying to get off the petrodollar, which we've agreed with the Saudis to do. And in order to buy oil from the Saudis, you have to go through the U.S. dollar, and then we promised to back them and protect the military, which is I forgot the Sunni Shiite whatever the relationship, but they were then funding the Israeli empire or the Israeli government because we're backing them up, kind of thing. But we don't want them to know that because the Saudis didn't want them to know that. So anyways, the news came out that they were doing that, and now we realize, hey, you know what, it's coming down. All right, so then Iran's getting off the U.S. petrodollar too, and when that happens, we're gonna pull out of the Iran nuclear deal, okay? And so as you see things being raised, it's all because prior to that there's someone getting off our petrodollar or our US dollar more and more. And so I see the news, I'm like, okay, so I see what happened is because it's a little threat, so we have to accuse Iran of trying to build nuclear weapons and all this other stuff, but because it's actually because they're getting off our petrodollar and we need to enforce that dollar somehow. But we can't just tell everyone, hey, they're getting off our dollar, we need to go and conquer them. Well, we need to sell a war of some sort. So I understand how it's happening. In Syria, there's actually a pipeline from Saudi Arabia to that sea. And then there's Iran pipeline that kind of goes through Syria also, which is why the Russians are supporting them too. Okay. Also, China's building a Silk Road from Asia all the way to Europe, just like how the U.S. built a train station, railway from east to west that really power and fuel our economy and be able to move goods and services very quickly instead of moving it through sea. And if they can accomplish that, then that'll make China a superpower itself. Or I mean, China's getting there too. So that's part of that too. So I see the news how we have 7 air carriers along the Asian coast, and instead of letting Asia be able to trade east with the Silk Road, we're kind of closing in with a little circle here, kind of like tightening it in, right? So, do we want to go at it directly? No, but let's just kind of, let's take out the smaller guys real quick and kind of make a statement. And if you mess with us, we're gonna start to noose in, and then we got you surrounded anyway, kind of thing. All right. So that's I see the I don't know, right? That's just kind of what I've kind of been putting the pieces together, and I don't know if you kind of observe a few things like, huh, all right, I see it, I get it. And plus the U.S. dollar is it's backed by the military, because without a mafia or someone enforcing you to use the dollar, it'll fail just like Rome did when Rome was a superpower itself, but it was in more in a sense localized to the Roman Empire. Unless the Roman Empire said, hey, you know what, let's print up this money and let's force other towns around us to use our dollar or our Roman denarii or whatever it is. And so as we're printing more, we're not just enslaving our people slightly, but we're actually enslaving outside more, rather than inflating everything and hyperinflating our own economy. So you see how America is more of a consumerism, right? Every time we print some money, we get money, we send it out, ship it out to China, right? So we're trying to inflate and buy up all of China's goods and services and give them funny money. And what does China do in response? Well, everything's going to rise up, right? Well, China, in a sense, has to dump that dollar, and this is why they're buying our U.S. debt, in a sense. And so they're holding a lot of our bonds and whatnot just to make themselves not grow so fast. And that way we can still trade with them. Otherwise, we can trade. If we can't trade with them because they're too expensive, we're going to have to go somewhere else. So China's kind of, in a sense, buying up our U.S. debt, in a sense, to say, hey, you know what, we have a couple trillion now. If we don't like you, we just want to recall our dollar backed by nothing. I don't know whether we would actually pay them in gold if we have any, but you kind of see our deal there. But we can say, hey, you know what, you're not paying us that what we owe, so we owe a piece of America. We need to then enforce and foreclose on America, in a sense, if that's possible. So they're kind of stuck in them. Like, can we enforce that foreclosure? Is our military strong enough? Do I have a police force strong enough to enforce and take action on that? Otherwise, it's just my word against hairs, and yeah, I'll pay you whenever I get to you, it kind of thing. Or here's some more printed money. Okay. So there's a thing called economic hitman. I think it was this. You could probably Google it, economic hitman. I think his name was David Peddleton or something. I don't know. I don't want to, just Google economic hitman. And fiat dollar system was, you'll kind of understand the whole story. They have a nice little visual documentary behind it. Okay. What else? So at the end of the day, like, what do we do, right? So I understand what's going on, why it's happening, and we, in a sense, need a war in order to get people back on that dollar. But through the enslavement, it sucks, right? And when China was trying to unite the Chinese Emperor Han or whatever it was, whatever the emperor that was trying to unite China, of course there was killing, there was atrocities, and pillaging, and people got hurt and killed, right? But there were actually assassins who, in that movie, I don't know how truthful it was, but it was to a point where it's like, there's assassins who got close to the emperor, and they had the ability to kill the empire and assassinate him. But they realized if they do that, it's just gonna break them into little factions again, and someone's gonna try to unify. And he got so close to unifying. Let's just let him unify it, and And so even though he was able to, they went through this battle and he was able to kind of do a slight slice. All he had to do is just put a little force into it to cut even more. But it was just a little nick, around the emperor's neck. And he's like, And then the guy was like, "Yeah, I know I could have, but I didn't, because I understand a greater purpose all under heaven. For he knew his greater purpose was to unite China." But everyone saw him as a tyrant, greedy for power, for land, whatever it is. But his heart motto was to unify China and bring peace to the Asian country, I guess. So you could kind of see like, okay, so if we didn't do what we did, and is this the best approach to, in a sense, globalize or conquer, or put, not be at risk of an attack? We're putting more of an offensive uh, approach to it. And is it sucks? Yeah, it does. And do we like the way how we manipulate things and how we manipulate the markets? Yeah, it sucks, and it kind of enslaves all of us. Broken marriages, and people can't pay their bills, and it takes multiple families to work a job to provide all the other stuff. But how long it's gonna take, I don't know. But that's the common goal. So when we open our eyes, best thing we do, personally, is to not depend on the U.S. dollar just like everyone else, right? But as we try to do that, of course, we're gonna be accused for what's it called, using crypto, or they call you money laundering, or tax evasion, or whatever else that they want to do. But we just want, like, dude, I just want to put more groceries on our table and be there for our kids, but without doing that, it's kind of like it forces you to, like, hey, I need to keep working for this dollar that doesn't let me buy as much as I want to anymore, and I have to go put out more and more time. So switch from selling your time, trading time, to selling things and services. And the tax law has set it up where you can, in a sense, be an investor and pay the lowest tax bracket. Even, I think, watch Tom Rule, right? He said 0%. I was like, oh, how do you do that? Like, the more passive income you have, the less you get taxed. And you're like, what? So like the less I work, the less I get taxed. Like, yeah. so in a sense, to buy assets, set up businesses and systems to provide jobs, build real estate, and all that stuff. That's what the government wants you to do, and that's what they incentivize the most. Okay, so that's kind of where I've learned about and say, hey, okay, so they want me to do that, then fine. Let's go do some property tax things. Let's start flipping real estate, and you get the biggest tax breaks there for having depreciation and all that other stuff. Being a passive investor where you can invest in other people's stuff if you're just not active on it, I think it's like 10% tax, and there are all other ways to even get it down to zero. I just haven't learned about it yet, but it seems like there's a way. Also, setting up your own bank, the infinite banking system. There's a book called Be Your Own Banker or something like that by I don't know the book name, but check that out on Amazon. It's also my private membership group, where instead of depending on the bank and the credit card of the bank, you set up your own banking system, your own credit line, and you can loan yourself money, or you can loan other people money too. It's up to you. But since it's yours, you get to set the terms of the loan. You can call it 20% interest, whatever it is, and if you call that, you can take that money out, and your life insurance will, in a sense, grow as if, let's say you have 10,000 in there. It'll grow as if the 10,000 is still there because there's a life insurance backing that $10,000. Because if you die, guess what happens? It's gonna be coming out of that life insurance policy, right? So it backs that 10,000, so it can grow without it being there because there's a loan now, which is like a credit debit kind of thing, and you can then use it for property tax liens, which then pay 20% on your lien, and then you can put it back there, and then that grows into a bigger credit line and a bigger credit line. So it's like prints my own money, right? It's like, so as soon as more deposits come in, my credit line grows. I could then loan more out, and I make more money, fractional reserve-ish, kind of, not truly, but in a sense, it compounds through the interest rate, and because there's more and more money in that reserve, and it never defeats the compounding because you never take it out, in a sense. The thing about Einstein's compounding, the 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 great wonders of whatever is compound interest, right? But we're like, dude, it's not even working on our bank account. That's because we keep taking it out, right? And it has to start all over again. But with that insurance, when you put 10K in, it always stays there, as if it's still there, even though you're using a bar and taking it out. But over time, it just keeps stacking on top of each other, so compounding, 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 and you pay more interest in it, compounds again. And then so when times of you know, when there's a market correction, usually banks don't loan, right? Because they're like in a market correction, they don't have any money. Their reserves are shot, and there's a bank run, you know. But that's where you dive into insurance company or your own bank and start buying up all the real estate when it's cheap, because they have the liquidity, but banks don't anymore. Okay, so that's a little bit of strategy for you guys. And plus, it's called a loan. So when it's a loan, it's not taxable, and then you could just, you know, pay the bank back, and their insurance. I mean, they take care of their insurance side and all that stuff, but you don't pay taxes through the. Let me think about it. I'm sure there is taxes on the difference of it, but the interest made through the loan, that the insurance takes care of all that stuff, right? So that's a separate entity in itself. So they take care of the profit made from the insurance, which compounds on its own. And then when you die, you kind of gift tax it back to your kids, and then that's probably where the 0% comes from, is through the gift taxing, the gift tax shelter to your next generation. Okay, so there's ways. You just gotta learn about it, right? Be smart about it. It's about making money the smart way. Not. It just seems like I mean, for me, I work hard, and it just didn't really make sense for me at the end of the day when I look at the taxes. I'm like, hey, I'm pulling in more hours, but then I make it a lot less the more I work harder. It just didn't make sense. So, all right, so that's my rant for today. So now we know the big picture. Whenever you see anything on the news, you kind of say, what's the real reason behind it? Usually it's because someone's trying to get off the fiat system, and we need to get them back on it. So we kind of raise little flags here and there. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a good day. It's Friday. I'm gonna finish up my Foy tuner and get this going, and you know, I'm gonna be trying to get that done. I think I told you about my dreams already, about trying to do RV, live off just that. You know, you want to actually. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. All right. So anyway, so even as you're living off the dollar, right, getting off the grid and all that stuff, your household is your most expensive expense, right? Your mortgage, rent, whatever it is. But if you can buy an RV, but not in California, because they still in a sense have to charge property tax. Yeah, it's called sales. Property tax is property. Yeah, whatever it is, you know, it's like property taxes or something like that. But it's on your personal property taxes. There you go. That's what it is. Personal property taxes in California. But I think if you go to Texas, they don't pay registration or anything like that. So in a sense, you don't have to pay personal property taxes on your RV. In a sense, you buy it, it's basically yours outright. You don't have to worry about utilities, all this other stuff. You kind of, other than when you use it when you need it, when you need to hook up or whatever, or, you know, dump at it or whatever. And then you just buy your internet, or you can stay or whatever. But that's pretty much it. Like, you know, RV life is like $10,000-$15,000 a year, because you're not paying rent or mortgage, which is your huge, is as big as expense, like half your income. Just eliminating that alone is huge. And never buy a brand new RV, always buy a used one. Okay, you get an RV for like 25K ish. That's the lowest I've seen, and go from there. And then just tour and, you know, travel the world, make your RV into a business too. Do some videos, like a travel video blog, monetize it, and then you can then deduct the miles if it's truly legitimate. This is what you do, and you document it every single day of your trip. Make everything to a business, you know, and that's where you can then, you know, get your gas deducted, and whatever income comes in, dude, all the mileage that you're pulling, that's huge for deducting all your miles, and you know, not getting your taxes down to zero, you know. Even your stays, expenses, food, whatever, right? It's all part of your family business to tour and share it with the world. Okay, and then who knows? You could probably promote and review products that you've went through, and then click the link below to get the product, and you could have a little online store or affiliate, whatever it is that you want to do. Or you could sell an educational guide, book, training on how to set up your RV, buy an RV, all that cool stuff. Right? So there's a lot of cool stuff on the internet. Just gotta be a little creative. And there's also a thing called Patreon, right? Where you have subscribers who are paying you monthly, but then they'll say, hey, you know what? I want some more content, user crowdsourced material. Like, hey, can you visit Grand Canyon and go here and check out this restaurant that I wanted to know about? So like, yeah, sure, I'll make the drive out there because you paid for your paid member. We'll go there, and here's a video I created of and review this for you because you know you have priority in your votes and because you're funding my trip basically on a monthly basis. So that's all kinds of ways to do this, and you just can be a little creative and not just trade time for money. Okay. All right. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you later. Bye.